Who are the Akans, and why should we even pay attention to their tradition in a biblical framework? I've already established a connection between the Akan people and ancient Israel in part 1 and part 2 of this series. In the next segment, which is a prelude, I will delve a little bit into the background and history of the Akan people who are found in the modern day countries of Ghana and Côte d'Ivoire. I come from this wonderful continent. I am an Akan, a descendant of a tribe that migrated from the east to the west coast of the African continent, fleeing religious persecution. Our journey took us through Egypt, Ethiopia, Sudan, and Mali, Timbuktu, eventually settling in the modern-day countries of Ghana and Côte d'Ivoire. Many of our people were later scattered abroad via the transatlantic slave trade. Akan means the firsts and the light, as our ancestors believed we were the firstborn and bearers of the light of our God, Nyame, the omnipotent and omniscient supreme creator who dwells in the heavens. The name of my tribe, Akan, is found in the Bible, transliterated the same way today as it was in ancient times. Its biblical reference can be found in the Hebrew Strong Concordance number H5912, which describes it as follows: Akan, an Israelite name, troublesome. Talk about self-fulfilling prophecy. The Akans were the leading rebellious and most troublesome tribes to have resisted oppression wherever they found themselves taken captives during the transatlantic slave trade. Let's read an excerpt of this assertion from the book Black Culture, White Discourse and Creole History, a study on interpretations of American slavery by the late German University professor, Dr. Ulrich Fleischmann. Referring to slave rebellions on the plantations, he writes on page 109, "It is still difficult to understand how a particular African group, the Coromantee nation, acquired the fame of being extremely warlike. Nevertheless, virtually all of the numerous rebellions in British Caribbean in the 18th century had been ascribed to this particular nation. Coromantes was the default name Westerners used to call members of the Akan tribe, such as Asantes and Fantes. Footnote 115 reads, "The name," and that is in reference to Coromante, "is one of those numerous pseudo-ethnic terms which refer to a slave port on the Gold Coast, and that is in modern-day Ghana, an area inhabited by people of the Akan group. According to Schuler, the Coromantee were Ashanti who followed their own specific tradition. It seems, however, that the oath ceremonies, and I will come back to that oath ceremonies because it ties into the seven spirits as well, which is the subject of our video. The oath ceremonies belonged generally to the religious culture of the slaves. The origin of the Coromantee fame may have been a particular group from the Akan area which devoted itself to the service of a war-like god. For example, Ogun. Ogun is Yoruba. The name of a warlike god among the Akan would be suffixed with the name Yao." Let's continue reading. "This reputation might have been extended either to all Akan groups, and that is the reputation of being extremely troublesome. This reputation might have been extended either to all Akan groups who formed the majority of slaves or to all servers of Ogun, which again would be Yao as a suffix for the Akan. Finally, it is possible that their reputation resulted in a self-fulfilling prophecy. All troublemakers were retrospectively identified as Coromantee. Nevertheless, planters preferred them to other slaves. Edward Long suggested stopping their arrival in Jamaica by laying a duty equal to a prohibition. And that is referenced in chapter 2, page 471. As we've just read, all Akans were identified as troublemakers to the extent that there were even an attempt to ban them from captivity on islands such as Jamaica. Incredible how this lines up so perfectly with the biblical account describing Akan as being a troublesome Israelite. I ask you again, is this a mere coincidence? The author of the text we've just read also details a unique oath taken by enslaved Akan people as they prepared for a major uprising against their captors on the island of Antigua in the year 1735. Let's read a little bit more about this oath and explain it further. The oaths, administered in at least 7 different places, sealed with a draught of rum, mixed with grave dirt and cock's blood, and included to kill all whites, to follow the leaders without any question, to stand by each other, and to observe secrecy on the pain of death. And that's from Creighton, 1980, page 7. The fact that an oath is administered in at least 7 different places is not random. For Akan people, 7 is a sacred number to draw the fullness of the clans, empowered by Nyame, the supreme being, and his 7 spirits. Akan people identify themselves first as a tribe, then into clans, then families with their leaders called Ebusriapenin, then individuals. We see the same family structure in Israel in the book of Joshua, chapter 7, verse 14, when Yah ordered Joshua to call out the people of Israel, first by their tribes, then by their clans, then by their families, in order to expose Akan, the son of Kwame, of the tribe of Judah, who brought trouble to Israel by taking forbidden items. Again, I'll come back to this story later on in this study. In the Akan cosmology, a man is born of the blood of his mother and the spirit of his father. According to tradition, all Akans descend from 12 patriarchs, and whose spirit, or ntro in the Akan Ashanti Twi language, is inherited through our father lineage. We therefore move in the spirit of our fathers, according to the spiritual legacy and aptitudes of these 12 patriarchs. Although this is reminiscent of the ancestral 12 patriarchs of Israel in the Bible, it is important to note that the vast majority of Akan identify themselves in the flesh according to 7 original clans born out of a single ancestral woman who gave birth to 7 children we all descend from. These 7 original clans are called Ebusua in the Akan Twi language. I emphasize on the term original because an 8th clan was later on grafted in, but this act was not accepted by all Akans, such as the Fanti people, for example, who retained the authenticity of the 7 bloodline originating from a single mother. Some say that this ancestral woman who gave birth to the 7 children from whom we get our 7 matrilineal clans is a mystical representation of who we are as a people, whereas others say she must have existed and walked the earth in ancient times. What if I told you that the mystery of the woman who gave birth to the 7 is explained in the Bible? And what if I told you that according to the biblical text, the mother of 7 is in fact Jerusalem, and the survivors of her 7 children are those commonly known as the Jews? Let's read in the word of Yah, spoken through the prophet Jeremiah against Jerusalem, his people, because of the sins committed by Manasseh, the son of Hezekiah, in Jeremiah chapter 15, verses 5 through the 6 and 9. Who will have pity on you, Jerusalem? And who will grieve for you? Who will go out of his way to ask about your welfare? In this verse, we see clearly that the subject of the words of Yah is Jerusalem, the southern kingdom of Israel, with the tribes of Benjamin, Levi, and Judah combined, commonly known as the Jews. Let's continue reading. Who will have pity on you, Jerusalem? And who will grieve for you? Who will go out of his way to ask about your welfare? You have deserted me, declares the Lord. You keep going backward. I'll reach out my hand and destroy you. I'm tired of showing compassion. The woman who gave birth to 7 will grow faint. Her life will expire. Her sun will set while it's still day. She will be disgraced and humiliated. I will kill the rest of them with swords in the presence of their enemies, declares the Lord. In the NET Bible translation, this last verse reads as follows: The mother who had 7 children will grow faint. All the breath will go out of her. Her pride and joy will be taken from her in the prime of their life. It will seem as if the sun had set while it was still day. She will suffer shame and humiliation. I will cause any of them who are still left alive to be killed in war by the onslaughts of their enemies, says the Lord. Who is this mother who gave birth to 7, and her generation has been put to shame, humiliated, and had suffered defeats under the swords of their enemies? According to the word of the God of the Bible, which came through the prophet Jeremiah in the text we've just read, the woman who gave birth to 7 children is a representation of Jerusalem, also known as the mother of the ancient Israelites of the tribe of Judah. Let's look at what Bible commentators and scholars say about the mother of 7 being an ancestral representation of Jerusalem as a people. From Ger de Koning in King Comment Bible Studies, the childbearing woman who gave birth to 7 represents Israel under the Lord's perfect blessing. Benson Bible Commentary: She that has borne 7 languishes. 7 is put for many, and the multitude of the inhabitants of Jerusalem, the mother city, is here alluded to. The prophet, pursuing the metaphor of the former verse and describing the mother city under the figure of a woman that had been fruitful but was now become feeble and bore no children. He means that the people of Judah, which had been very numerous, were now greatly diminished, inferring here that the mother of 7 represents the people of Judah. If you affirm your lineage to the mother of 7, then you are claiming descent from the ancient people of Judah, whom she represents in a biblical and spiritual sense. And who are the Akan who say they descend from the woman who bore 7 children? According, again, as a reminder, to Hebrew Strong Concordance number 85912 of the biblical text, Akans, an Israelite name, troublesome, men of Judah. I just love when the biblical text leaves these mystery traces that only through cultural understanding can be understood. What is interpreted by some as symbology, for us is life, just as it is that the word of Yah is alive, and his people shall bear witness of it. And to emphasize this, from the book of Galatians chapter 4 verse 26, but the Jerusalem that is above is free, and she is our mother. If you were to ask the Akan people, this mother of 7 is our mother. For us, she is not just a page or a chapter and verse taken out of the Bible. She is our organic reality. But I have to ask you again, for the 3rd time before I proceed, is it a mere coincidence? There comes a point when too many coincidences become a sign. The spirit of the biblical texts and prophecies has already claimed its people. Whether willingly or not, they will manifest and naturally embody the truth of the Most High God, bearing witness to His word. Remember the word of Yah in Isaiah chapter 44, verses 7 and 8. And who can proclaim as I do? Then let him declare it and set it in order for me. since I appointed the ancient people, and the things that are coming and shall come. Let them show these to them. Do not fear, nor be afraid. Have I not told you from that time and declared it? You are my witnesses. Is there a God besides me? Indeed, there is no other rock. I know not one. In each part of this series, I've emphasized the connection between the Akan people and the Jews of ancient Israel to draw parallels between our traditional beliefs and the Word of God in the Bible. Why is it important? Because scriptures tell us that the Jews are the oracles of God. Romans chapter 3, verses 1 and 2. Then what's the advantage of being a Jew? Is there any value in the ceremony of circumcision? Yes, there are great benefits. First of all, the Jews were entrusted with the whole revelation of God. Given this, let's explore biblical revelations through the lens of indigenous Akan spiritual belief rather than the familiar European interpretations. We will also continue our Berean task of examining the scriptures to confirm or disprove our findings. Ultimately, I hope the listener will be enlightened, or at the very least, reconnected with their potentially lost cultural heritage, which affirm the biblical narrative and prophecies concerning them. In part 2 and 3 of this study, we've covered the spirits of understanding, wisdom, and counsel, and the striking similarities in Akan tradition. Let's now talk about the spirit of might.